Hello, and welcome to Out and About Art, your PGTV source for all things art in Polk County. I'm your host, Yasmin Ali. TheatreWorks Florida has started off their second season in Davenport with a bang, opening with a musical comedy called Nunsense. The full-length musical follows the shenanigans of 5 mischievous nuns from the Little Sisters of Hoboken Convent and holds the record for being the second longest-running off-Broadway show in theater history. Check this out to learn about Nunsense, the rest of TheatreWorks Florida's upcoming season, and 3 of the actresses behind the fabulous, hilarious nuns from the show.
Our upcoming season, which is our second season here in Davenport, opens with Nunsense, which is an international acclaimed hit that is played for over 35 years. Our second show is the Great American Trailer Park Christmas Musical, which last year we played the first show, which was the Great American Trailer Park Musical, and it was sold out completely, so we've already got people knocking the door down to see the Christmas sequel. And then our third show is Nunsense 2, The Second Coming, which you get to go back and see what happened at the very end of Nunsense. We chose Nunsense for a lot of different reasons. First of all, it has been playing for 35 years around the world. It has been translated into 26 different languages. It is an extremely family-friendly show, and we really wanted to open up with something that everybody can enjoy. I've known about Nunsense and have been around Nunsense since 1985 when it first came out. It's the second longest running off-Broadway show, and I have sort of followed, it has a cult following. It has spawned 6 sequels and 3 spin-offs, and to this very day, people do it everywhere that you can possibly imagine. The story goes that there's these 5 nuns, the Little Sisters of Hoboken, New Jersey, and they go out to play bingo one night and come home to find that 52 of their sisters are laying face down in soup dead because their cook, Sister Julia, child of God, has made a Vichyssoise poisonous soup, and they all died. Well, they had enough money to bury every one of them except for 4, so they didn't know what to do, and they stick them in a freezer. So there's these nuns in the freezer. Well, the Jersey Board of Health finds out, and they tell them that they've got only a few days to get these other 4 buried, so they decide that they're going to hold a musical review and invite the audience to come and raise money with them. And that's sort of how it all goes down. So when the audience comes, they are literally coming to the convent and to the school where the sisters teach, and they're part of that show.
Nonsense is habit forming, that's the reason we are up here on the stage tonight, hoping you'll agree. Nonsense is habit forming.
There's tap dancing, there's ballet, there's all kinds of crazy stuff, puppetry. I mean, it's utterly insane. And the thing that we love about Nunsense, those of us who have been around it for such a long time, is not only is there these high energy show-stopping numbers and these crazy antics that happen, but there's some really, really lovely, sweet moments that come from the heart with some very realistic characters, although I would be hard-pressed to think you'll find a convent anywhere on earth, much like the Little Sisters of Hoboken.
So I am brand new to TheatreWorks Florida. I didn't even really know about the opportunity. Something happened with the cast. There was an injury, and so I got a message one evening from the woman that's playing Reverend Mother. I actually worked with her 10 years ago in Legoland, California, and we both ended up in Central Florida, and she said, we're looking for a Sister Leo. Are you interested? I think maybe it would work. And so told me to message Scott. So we messaged Scott and had about an hour audition process on a Sunday. And I think we both, it just kind of clicked for me and hopefully for Scott. But it was great, and we both thought that this would work. So that's how I got involved. That was about 2 weeks ago, and here we are, and things are going really well.
I had been a performer for a while, and I had met Scott many years ago, I think 1996, doing Damn Yankees. And then I moved away for a little bit. When I came back in 2008, Scott had started TheatreWorks Florida, and I contacted him and I was like, hey, do you guys need any help with anything? And he was like, hey, let's meet up for a meeting. 2.5-hour meeting later, I was the production touring manager of Plaid Tidings, which was our first tour, well, my first touring show with TheatreWorks Florida. So yeah, so it's been since 2008.
Originally started working with Scott in 2011 on Marvelous Wonderettes, and then have just continued staying in contact with him and working with TheatreWorks Florida since then. I play Reverend Mother, so she's pretty much the big boss with all the nuns, and she struggles a little bit with wanting to have fun herself, but needing to stay in charge and keep control of everybody else.
My character in Nunsense, her name is Sister Leo, and Sister Leo is the youngest out of all the nuns, and she's the newest. She's the novice of the group. She's a bit naive. She comes in as a ballerina and wants to be a famous nun ballerina, which is a little crazy, but this is her dream, and so she's really excited because in this show, we're putting on a show. My process for getting into this is a little challenging because I'm not the youngest of all of us. So I have to find ways to figure out how to bring that youth to the character. Also, I am not a ballerina, and this has been a process. So there is a lot of practice going on, trying to get more flexible, getting my arms in the right places, my toes and legs, but it's really been an awesome process so far, and I hope I can do it justice. Little Sister Leo.
I play the character of Sister Robert Ann. She is the streetwise nun of the group. She's a little bit of a wisecracker. She had a tough childhood, so she's the one who kind of can be a part of the students' lives. Her role to the whole, basically, is they're all funny. All the nuns have their own little quirks and funniness and everything, but I think Robert Ann she's the instigator of a lot of the funny. She thinks she's hilarious, so, and she's constantly just trying to get herself noticed. So just the craziness ensues from that. But at the end of it all, she is very warm-hearted. She loves the students, and she loves being with her fellow sister nuns. First of all, I think it's awesome that we have a home here in Polk County. It's great. There's a lot of other theaters around the area too, and I just think the more arts that can be in an area, the better. We strive for bringing quality theater to everyone. If you want to just have a fun time, safe for the family, from a child all the way to a 90-year-old child. There's stuff for everyone in this show. There's silly jokes, there's dancing, there's singing. I just think if you need to come and hang out with some tap dancing nuns, and you'll have a time you've never had before.
We hope we'll pass the test. Now the rest is up to you.
Well, TheatreWorks Florida is centrally located, which it makes it very convenient for a lot of residents of Polk County to come out and see shows. And it's really supporting your local arts community. So if you can come out and see a show, it's greatly appreciated.
We're thrilled with where we're at with TheatreWorks, even though it is our second year in Davenport. We're 11 years old, actually going on 12 years old. We've been all over Central Florida building shows for other theaters, but when we decided to set down in Davenport last year, if there was a challenge, it was letting people know we were here. In our second year, we've seen ticket sales double immediately on season subscriptions, lots of word of mouth. Great local corporate sponsors who are coming back to the table to say, yes, we love what you did last year. We want to support that and get you further. So I think that the impact is we're growing very quickly. a strong arts community for Northeast Polk County, for Davenport. And this side of town is growing very fast, economically, geographically. We attend commission meetings and stuff to find out what's going on in town, so that we are not only just a company over here doing some really cool shows, we want to be part of this community. Next year, in our third year, our expansion of programming will include ClassWorks, which is for kids. Well, not only for kids, it's for adults too, it eventually will be. But we're going to start with kids for professional training in musical theater, which I've wanted to do for so long. And now that we have a facility and we have a base of people, we are getting those questions. When are you going to open something for kids? And I'm like, okay, just hold on. I need one more year to make sure that we've got everybody here. So we're excited to see the growth and be able to do the things that we could never do when we were on the road as a touring company. So it's awesome.
Unfortunately, TheatreWorks Florida's run of Nunsense has ended, but tickets for their upcoming season are available now on their website, www.theatreworksfl.org. And now it's time for our Artist Spotlight. This month, we're highlighting a professor from Polk State College who has started a musical movement within our community by introducing us to his Voices of the People series. Over the years, it has morphed and transformed into many different sounds. We recently caught up with him at his latest event, Cello 2.0. Our featured artist spotlight is Derek Menchan.
So, you guys know me as sort of a trash-talking, out-of-the-box, philosophy dude who runs off on tangents and stuff, and many of you also know me as a cellist. You might not know about me that I am a composer and an arranger and a bassist and a singer, but you're not going to get any of that from me tonight, but there's a lot of stuff I do. I've got some interesting projects in the can that I'm not going to talk about just yet, but they're pretty blasted exciting.
Once upon a time, we called ourselves crossover artists, or we'd list all the instruments we play. In our postmodern times, those of us who do a few different things in the arts or do a few different things in music and play a few instruments call ourselves multi-instrumentalists. So it's literal. I compose at sometimes the keyboard, sometimes the cello, sometimes it's from my head. Depending on what I compose or arrange, I might play some different instruments. And so I'm a music producer, composer, arranger, orchestrator, I'm a singer, I'm a bassist, I'm a cellist. So the best and quickest way to get at that, the umbrella term, is calling myself a multi-instrumentalist. When one studies to be a cellist, as I did, I think when they're not a music education major, when they're a performance major like I have been or like I was, at least I wanted to be the best in the world. I wanted to learn what it took to be the best in the world and at least be one of the best. And I think, as I always say, when I found out what I had to do, I said, yeah, let me go for plan B, because I'm not doing that. That music's too freaking hard to have to memorize and work on. I'd have to sell my soul for that. And so, no, a good friend of mine told me, you don't want to be the best in the world. You want to be the cellist that the cosmos has for you. And I never forgot that. And I think that's what I've become. But even with that, and being in magazines and doing interviews and being like an interesting new kid on the block that the press was interested in, I got homesick. And I missed my mom. My mom and I are like really tight. And as you know, while we're doing this interview now, she's sitting right in front of me, bless her heart, with her sitter, and she's 88, soon to be 89. And I missed her, so I decided, I'm coming home, man. I don't have any true dyed-in-the-wool friends that know me like my friends know me that I came up with in Florida. And I came back here and I was like, whoops, that really wasn't the right decision. There's not a lot of artistic stuff happening here. But I think cosmically it was the right move. I was happy to be around the roots that I came up in. And then right after I landed here, Polk State reached out to me and said, hey, come conduct the orchestra. And then they asked, do you want a full-time job? And I was like, no, I'm a touring musician. They're like, yeah, but come teach humanities. I taught it and I haven't left since. That was almost 15 years ago. Voices of the People are several things. But principally what it is it gave me a way to stay sane at my job. So I created Voices of the People so I could have, on a regular basis, some of my buddies come down from these places. They're playing with the big, squads, with the Detroit Symphony or the St. Louis Symphony come down from New York or Chicago, or whatnot, and we hang out and have a good meal, kick it around, smoke some good cigars, and play some great music. But it was to give Polk Countyans a way to experience world-class music without having to travel to another state or to another city. Bring it right here, make it affordable. Once one can understand oneself, there's nothing one cannot understand. So if something is still a mystery to one, that's because one is a mystery to themselves. And I want to instill that to as many people as I can, because that's what keeps me laughing in spite of all manner of hardships that may come by me or whatever the world throws at me today or tomorrow or whatever. I'm always able to laugh because life is like, it really is a bowl of cherries for me. Some of the cherries might be a little, rancid. Some of them I got to throw out. No one said that they all have to be tasty or sweet, but they're still cherries. I'm having a groovy time in life, and I think other people can too.
For more information on Voices of the People, visit www.polk.edu or call 863-669-2928. For our last story of the month, we're heading back to TheatreWorks Florida to witness the culmination of 10 weeks of workshops. Vet Voices provides a safe space for military war veterans, their families, and caregivers to express themselves and share their personal experiences with others. Their first highlights presentation was held last month and received a standing ovation from the public. Check this out to learn more about the program and the impact it has had on veterans' lives.
Vet Voices really works out of the workshop concept in which we create a safe space through theater games and through knowing each other and sharing stories. And we ask them to talk to each other, talk about their lives, talk about the service, their time in the service and out of the service, and their transitions until everybody feels safe. And that takes 2 or 3 sessions. And then we ask them to write stories, and they can write them in school books that we give them, our little marble-faced school books. And then they bring their pieces in. Some of them are partial, some of them are completed, and they present them for the group for peer evaluation and to get a reaction. We didn't know in the beginning that this would all be story-based, and it's almost like storytelling, but that's what it became. And so we're flexible enough to accommodate that. We worked on acting, but acting is not what their specialty is here at this moment. And therefore, in the next group, we're going to bring in professional actors to work with the veterans. And it's been a very exciting process. It's a very sensitive place to understand group dynamics, where is the place and how far you can go and when do you need to pull it back. There were a lot of emotions exhibited even tonight, as you could see. I call it the goosebump effect when a story is being told and you know it's coming from someone's gut and you feel it, it goes through you. To have them capture that and be able to repeat that and be able to, and then have them agree, in fact, they want to share it. There are stories that we have not shared that they did not feel comfortable doing. The early sessions were very tense. No one knew what they were going to do or how, did not feel comfortable. Theater games help you do that. You needed to use that to open them up and just encourage a story or two. And once one story came out, someone else said something it's a slow process. And it is a process, and as Scott said this evening, I wanted to be flexible. I didn't want to say we're going to turn it into this right now, because I want them to define the piece that's being created by them in the moment.
I first found out about Vet Voices from a previous project. One of my directors had informed me about this, and what inspired me was just getting into the arts, showing people that vets are more than what you think we are. But for me, it was also therapeutic, because I feel like a lot of times we're not, as veterans especially, not allowed to express ourselves. And I believe that this was a perfect opportunity for me to express myself and get a lot of things off of my chest. It exposed me to the fact that I had these emotions. I had buried them for so long. The stories, for example, that I told during my presentation, I hadn't told in 10 years. Honestly, I'd forgotten about the entire story. I had to push it down so far. So that was the inspiration for me to not only come to the Vet Voices, but to also get into the arts, get into acting, and get into screenwriting to really express my emotions. It was a lot of hard, lonely nights where I was just like, man, you know, something's bothering me. Something is bothering me. I thought I was done with the Marine Corps. I thought I was done with war. I thought I was done with all that stuff. So why do I still have these feelings like I'm incomplete? And breaking them down to those stories, just finding that point where it's like, this is where my life changed, I believe. So that's what it came down to, just finding that spot and then just bringing it out. With veterans, the thing you had to understand is, no matter how old we are, we're all gonna be brothers or sisters or whatnot. So, for example, one of the guys lost it a little bit when he was reading his story, and I've heard him tell that story probably 20, 30 times already. He always loses it. So I know for him to be able to bring that story out took a lot. And today, when he was losing it, I just put my hand on his shoulder just because I knew that would help him realize that he wasn't in that place anymore. It's over, and your brothers are here, you know? So that camaraderie, I think, is strengthened. And I've been hanging around vets for most of my life anyway, coming from a big military family. So yeah, I think that this was definitely an experience that brought us closer together and made me understand a little more about other veterans' experiences.
The way I found out about Vet Voices is I came to one of their play last year, and I loved it. From the moment I walked in here, I loved everything about it, the play, the people, everything. And when I heard that they were doing something for the vets, since I'm a vet, I told my husband, I don't know how, but I am going to be part of this. The funny part is that I don't sing, I don't dance, and I don't act. So it was going to be very hard for me, I thought, to be part of this program. So when I came here, I told them, this is my story, and just tell me what to do. And that's how I started. I had grown so much. If you asked me 3 months ago if I was ever going to do something like this, I probably would have said no. Obviously, I'm a very shy person. The moment I started in the Vet Voices program, it was like I completely turned into somebody else. I mean, my shyness went away. I just allowed myself to be that person that they wanted me to be, to open myself to the opportunity that they were offering me. And it changed me as a person, as a human being, as a mother, as a veteran. So when people tell you the arts saved their lives, believe them, because it's true. When Mark told us that we needed to write a monologue, I was like, oh wow, this is it. I'm gonna be kicked out of Vet Voices. But I didn't. I went home and I started thinking, what should I write about? What is something that has touched me here that I would like to share with the community? And I was in the Army for 13 years, and that was a big part of who I am right now. But I think the part that actually made me the person who I am today is my experiences as a military wife. When we talk about veterans, we always talk about how they are heroes because they went to war and they defended our country. But sometimes we forget that those soldiers have people back home who are as heroes as they are. And we are probably not fighting the same mission they're fighting, but we're definitely fighting the same war. And I wanted people to know that. I wanted people to hear that part of the whole military life, because I think it's very important for us to understand that what military wives, what military kids go through in the process of their parent being in the war. So that's basically, that was my motivation to write this piece. I did not write this piece until Saturday at 12 in the morning, because I kept procrastinating and procrastinating. I wrote it, I saved it, and I sent it to Mark. I was like, here you go, Mark. Let me know if you like it. And he loved it. I think the biggest thing that we're getting out of this is just becoming a family. At the beginning, it was very hard because we were a little apprehensive. Obviously, these are personal stories that we probably have not even told our family. And just sharing that stories with these people brought us so close together, and we laughed, we cried. We have cried a lot over these past nine weeks, and we just see each other as friends, and more than friends, I will say, family. And so yes, we're a family. We're a family of 10 right now.
These stories aren't told. These are the stories, the untold stories of veterans coming back and in the service. I think there's as they said, 1% of the population is in the service, and the rest, thank you for your service is what they say, but they really don't know what they go through. And these people have gone through a lot for the country, and personally are dealing with it today, even at 84 years old, okay, are still dealing with it. And I think these stories are important, and I don't know if we've been told these stories. I really don't feel that I've been told them. I mean, and I think they're kind of unique, and it's important.
These are your friends, these are your brothers, your sisters, your neighbors. There's nothing really that special about us except that we signed up for a job when we were young, and that job so happened to be to protect the nation. So when a person who is not a vet or who does not have any experience with other veterans, I would just say, again, keep an open mind, keep an open heart, and realize that we are human.
The military is something that not everybody knows about because they either have never served or don't have people who have served in their families. And I think coming to see us will give you that perspective that you are missing right now. Just give us a chance. Give us a chance to show you who we are, what we have done, and what we want to do in the future with our military experience.
I think this was a great experience. I'm going to keep going on with it, and I hope it grows to be a lot bigger than what it is now.
If you or anyone you know would like more information about Vet Voices, email vetvoices@theatreworksfl.org. And if you missed the first highlights presentation, you can find all of the participants' stories on our Polk Government YouTube channel. Well, that's all I have for this month, but there's always plenty going on within the Polk County art scene. Stay tuned for a list of art events in your area. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time for more art out and about.